And we're live. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to She Built It Boss Lady Chronicles. I am Sharita Gaskins Tillett. I am your host, and this is the show where we feature the amazing stories of women who are owning their power to transform their lives. And I am so excited about tonight's guest. I can't wait to tell you about her. But while we wait for other people to jump on, I do want to remind you that registration is still open for a weekend for me, the Premier Wellness Experience for Professional Women, taking place in Grand Cayman October 2nd through the 5th. And this retreat is different from the others. The theme for this one is radical rest. And I chose this because of the times in which we are living. We are under so much stress, there's so much negativity and toxicity in our world right now. And we want to be at our best, because the reality is this: um, we're in such a state that it is going to require us to help us. And that's actually, some of what my doc tonight is doing. So again, I can't wait to tell you about her. But it's going to take us helping us in order to survive this climate. And in order to do that, we have to be well rested and we have to be strategic. So if you haven't reserved your place today, www.aweekendforme.com. If you need more information, I'm going to actually put a link in the chat for you to schedule a call with me. I would love to talk it through with you to see if A Weekend for Me is a good fit. But, again, this is a time unlike any other, and we need radical rest right now. So I'm dropping the link now, and I'm going to introduce my guest. So I have joining me tonight Dr. Mahalia Robinson. Dr. Mahalia is a chief resident physician in anatomical and clinical pathology at Johns Hopkins, with a strong interest in cytopathology and addressing disparities in diagnoses affecting African American women. A proud graduate of North Carolina A&T University, an HBCU that shaped their passion for medicine and service, she went on to graduate with honors from medical school after completing a rigorous post-baccalaureate program. Beyond medicine, Mahalia is the founder of DevelopDoc Enterprises, a mission-driven real estate development company that has a mission to create affordable, furnished workforce housing for medical trainees and early career physicians. Through DevelopDoc, she is pioneering innovative housing models, wraparound support services, and physician focused home ownership opportunities that empower first generation medical trainees and residents. With a passion for mentoring, advocacy, and community development, Mahalia blends clinical expertise with entrepreneurial vision to build pathways of equity in both medicine and housing. Welcome, Dr. Mahalia.
Hello, hello. Thank
Good
you
evening.
so
You're so welcome. It's so good to have you, and I am so excited. And we met a little bit earlier,
much.
and I have to tell the folks even before I start to jump into my questions that I am just so proud of you and so
Thank you.
impressed.
Thank
Because I have to tell you, I mentioned at the beginning of your bio that you are a medical resident. So for anybody non-medical who's watching, that's like people who are in the trenches in the deepest part of the training. And somehow, in the deepest part of the training, Dr. Mahalia has managed to, have a, entrepreneurial pursuit that is actually helping other people and serving the community. So I just applaud you for that at the
you.
outset.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit. We want to learn about you.
Yeah.
Tell us some about your background. How did you end up in medicine?
First and foremost, I am born and raised from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I take pride on being from Fayetteville, North Carolina. A lot of people talk about, uh, they call it Vietnam, a place where things happen, but I take pride because all of my family are in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and more specifically Spring Lake, North Carolina, which is a small town in North Carolina. But born and raised from there, born in a single parent household. Both of my parents have been in my life, but my mom was the primary person taking care of me, and she instilled her drive, her work ethic, and things of that nature. And While I was in grade school, I went to pretty much like a math and science school, and that kind of instilled that love for science um, unknowingly because I went on to middle and high school where I went to an early college high school called Cross Creek Early College. And there I was able to get up to 60 um, free college credits from Fayetteville State University, which is another HBCU. And from there, I recognized that medicine was something that was really my passion, was really something I was not only interested in, but I understood and I could grasp it easily. Also, some personal experiences like my grandmother went through breast cancer 3 times and seeing like going with her to her appointments and really being involved in her care as far as hearing what the physicians were telling her and trying to relay back that information to her. Also, my father had really bad congestive heart failure, so helping him in that process of changing bandages when, his legs are swelling, or even, learning information of why that was happening. I was very intrigued. So that was pretty much the forefront of why I went into medicine. But more specifically, once I got into North Carolina, A&T State University, go Aggies, um, well, Aggie Pride, let me not say go Aggies, Aggie Pride. Um, I was able to get into the biology department where I was very well taken care of regarding, shaping and molding what I wanted to do. So I had a lot of support um, from my professors, had a lot of support from even like-minded individuals that I was in class with. And from there, I really in my head put that I am able to be a doctor, even though I didn't really see a lot of doctors that looked like me um, growing up. Like I had a couple of, people that mentored me along the way, but the overall consensus was that I really didn't see people that looked like me being doctors. So that's when I really decided, hey, Mahalia, you're good at this, you love this, so you can do this. Along the way, going from undergrad, I did have some hurdles. So that MCAT took me down.
Yes,
Um,
it
it,
takes down many.
it took me down.
Apparently you got back up.
Yes, it took me down. So I took it 3 times, but each time I had to figure out what I needed to do in order to get to that goal, which was going to medical school.
So I want to pause here just 1 second for
Mhm.
our non-medical folks. The MCAT is the medical college admissions test. So it's the test that all prospective medical students have to take and do well on, not just pass, take and do well on in order to get into medical school. So just to level set there.
Yes. And I believe it was the second time after I took the MCAT, I actually I looked for like supplemental things that could help with my application. And with that, I actually attended it was like a forum in Campbell University School of Osteopathic Medicine. Um, they were there and they introduced their post-bac program. Post-bac program, meaning that this is like a supplemental program where if you don't have exactly what you need to go straight from wherever you are, that could be undergrad or like another type of program, and you want to get to medical school, but you don't have everything that you need, you can use this particular program as like a supplement in order to help your application um, kind of buffer it out. For me, like I had the grades, I had everything else. It was just my MCAT. So since this was like it was a master's program, and it was pretty much in 2 years the first year of medical school, but I wasn't getting like a medical school credit. I utilize that as a tool to show them like, hey, like I can do this work and do it well.
Yes.
So that was my strategy with that, and I was successful at that. Still took the MCAT again, and I I didn't do as well as I wanted to on the MCAT, but I did enough in order to get in. Plus, that supplemental stuff
Right.
help push me in. So while I was in medical school, I thought I wanted to be an internist. So internal medicine,
That's a big difference from
yes,
pathology.
yes. So it's an interesting story. So I wanted to do internal medicine because while I was in medical school, I loved everything. So I was like, Mahalia, you love everything, do internal medicine, and from there, if you want to self specialize, you can. I had my first. I will never forget my first day of my internal medicine rotation. Well, first week, and I was like, "Oh no, this is not the life I want." So I was like, back to the drawing board. And what is interesting is that the clinical site I was at for medical school was the only clinical site that had a pathology rotation in the whole region. So I was blessed enough after my internal medicine rotation to be able to do an elective in pathology. And just like that first week of internal medicine, I knew it wasn't for me. That first week of pathology, I was like, wow, like I love this. I loved everything about it, everything about being able to see specimen with my own eyes, to being able to see it under the microscope and make important diagnoses for my patients. So that's where my love for pathology grew, and it grew substantially even to now being a fourth year resident, where I'm in knee deep in my training at one of the most like rigorous programs. But every day I love what I'm doing because I know I am directly helping my patients, and not only that, I get to be part of their team and helping with their treatment plans. So that's pretty much a little bit about myself, how I got into medicine and more specifically pathology.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause for a brief, bit of rivalry here. Apparently, Kimberly said you had her until you said Aggie. That's a little bit of rivalry
That's
here.
a bison. All right, that's one of my friends. That's a bison. She,
Okay.
it's okay.
And then the other thing I want to kind of go back to is you mentioned the that you had mentors. What was the significance of having mentors for you?
The significance of having mentors for me, that it was a very crucial part of my upbringing, and seeing that this was something that was possible. Um, Especially, I have to give a shout out to her, Dr. Perry. She was actually a emergency room physician that allowed me to shadow her during my summers during undergrad. So I was able to see her at work and see everything that was included in medicine, from seeing the patients to the paperwork to, the documentation, everything. So that was an important piece. And I don't exactly consider him as a mentor, but he's someone that I saw growing up. He was my own physician, my
Okay.
family medicine physician. So seeing him as a black man take care of me, and having just that direct contact with him, and again seeing that it was possible for a brown girl like me to be a physician, it really molded my mind and motivated me to keep going even through the hard times.
Okay, so now I want to fast forward because you've kind of taken a dip an unexpected dip for a resident in particular,
Yes.
and you have created this or launched this Develop Doc.
Yeah.
Tell us what Develop Doc is, and then how did you get to Develop Doc? Like, what was your inspiration?
Yeah. So, DevelopDoc is a mission-based real estate development company. Pretty much, our goal is to take vacant homes in Baltimore City, and pretty much redevelop them into affordable housing for first generation medical trainees. And my overall goal for like this mission came from pretty much being a first generation trainee that moved from another state to a whole new state where I don't have any family here. I don't really didn't really have the finances, and I had to go into this environment where I had to figure out how I was going to pay for housing, How was I going to make my residency checks pay for housing? And just that overall stress really kind of impacted not necessarily my clinical care, but it impacted some of my mind when it came to trying to make figure things out, especially my first year of residency. So with that, like I just had in mind that I wanted to help those that were behind me, not only try to find affordable housing in close proximities to hospitals, because that's the main thing. Like you can find affordable housing, but in close proximities to medical institutions is a lot harder because a lot of people know, oh, these
Right.
residents are coming in the area, so let's boost our rent up.
Yes.
So having that goal in mind, as well as being someone that is first generation, um, that came from a household where finances wasn't really talked about, or the knowledge of how budgeting works, or how investing works, that was really wasn't talked about because it really wasn't known. So having these conversations with the wraparound services, we're learning about financial literacy, is also something that is incorporated in DevelopDoc, because as early physicians and people coming into the medical field, you're kind of, you need to be prepared for learning how to take care of the finances you're about to get, because some people, they might grow up with a poverty mindset, and then once they get their money, it's like, oh, I'm gonna splurge it all or I'm gonna hoard it all, and
Right.
both extremes are horrible. So learning about how to pretty much take care of the money that you get, so by the time that you are in attending, you are able to manage that money well. That's something I know is very important. So that's something I also want to instill in people that become part of Develop Doc. And well, I can't remember the other part of the question.
Well,
So,
it's okay.
oh,
Because there's a lot. You gave me enough there that I kind of, there were a couple things I wanted to jump on the back of
yeah.
in the first place. The first is I love that you saw a problem
Hmm.
and that you found a solution. Because so many of us have encountered this problem, myself included, where,
Yes.
and this is something, this is one of the things, I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute. This is one of the places where all this talk of DEI admissions and DEI hires really grinds my gears,
Yes.
because, people come into medical school from all different walks of life.
Right.
But for many of us, you mentioned first generation medical people, for first generation medical folks, most of us come in not from a background of privilege. And
Right.
so in addition to having to go to medical school and take all the same tests everyone else takes
Right.
and do all the same board exams everyone else does, we have the added stress of trying to survive. And
Exactly.
so I know for me, when I was in medical school, I had a job during the first 2 years, during the clinical years. So while some of my classmates had the privilege of being able to just focus on their education, I had to focus on having a job.
Right.
And then, full disclosure, during my very first year, my car got repossessed because my car payment was late. So
Yeah.
this is stressful.
Yeah.
It is very stressful. And so the fact that you're seeking to alleviate some of those stresses that medical students and residents have related to money and related to housing, I think is awesome. Because a lot of people are like, well, I suffered, you need to suffer too. And I
Right.
am so not a part of
Right.
that way of thinking, because if you can make things better for somebody else, I think you should.
Exactly.
But I just wanted to highlight that part because I think that that might get lost on some people, because they do say, "Oh, well, you got in because of the color of your skin," and
Right.
then, that kind of thing. No, we have to get there. We have to perform, and we're performing under a different set of pressures than
Exactly.
everybody else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I did want to, like I said, get on my soapbox for a little bit, about that. But then also the financial literacy piece. So I
Hmm.
don't know if you guys caught that Dr. Mahalia said part of this. So it's not just providing, um, furnished, fully furnished, reasonably priced housing for medical trainees. It's also about teaching them how to manage their money and the money that they're about to come into. And I'm curious though, how did you learn about money mindset? Because you said you didn't come from privilege, but you're absolutely right. There's so many of us go into medicine not really understanding, not even knowing anybody that can help us uh,
Right.
figure out how to manage the money that we're coming into. We have these misconceptions because honestly, the money is not as much money as you think it's going to be, because the other side of it is the student loans. But
Exactly.
that would be another soapbox for another day.
Exactly.
Um, but but how did you gain that knowledge?
Yeah, so it's still a learning progress, of course. But I have to give a plug. My fiance is the Kingdom Wealth Connector, and she has instilled in me things that I didn't even know was possible, as far as, learning how to budget, how to utilize your money. What does it look like to be wealthy? Or
Mm,
what does wealth look like? What do you want wealth to look like? So again, it's an everyday task for me. It's an everyday learning experience for me, but it's something I know that is needed, especially in the community that I'm in the setting that I'm in, being a, a, a training physician. So yeah, that is where I'm learning things from, and just being in the environments that she is in, as far as, um, being around other people that, know how to utilize their money, know how to budget, know how to invest. So those things are important. Networking is important as well. But more specifically, she is the one that is helping me every day with learning how to budget and making sure that I am smart with the money that I do get. So I am in the future able to pretty much invest and do what I need to do in order to have wealth, true wealth, because wealth starts with a mindset before it starts with actually obtaining it.
So,
So I'm
so tell me what your definition of wealth is while we're here, because I know it's
so
a little different for each person, but
yeah.
I'd love to know what you think about it.
So to me, wealth to me means that I am able to be, I guess you could say, work optional.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we don't like to use the word retire early or anything like that, because I love what I do as a pathologist, and I see myself doing it for years until I'm at the age where I can quote unquote
Yes.
retire. But I don't want to have to work for a paycheck. So
Right.
when I think of wealth, I think of allowing my money to make money, allowing myself to make money while I sleep, and just overall not having to stress about where funds are coming, or whether funds are going to, or I'm going to have funds for my future family, for funds to be able to do the things that I want to do and be happy in life. So that's what wealth means to me. And it's
So
not necessarily materialistic, but it's more of having things that I need in order to be successful.
absolutely. And I would love for those watching, tell us in the comments what wealth means to you. For me, wealth is freedom. Or yeah, that's how I look at wealth, is freedom. It's the freedom to do what I want, where I want, when I want, without anybody. I don't have to answer to anybody, and there are no restrictions. I can write my own ticket. I can live the way that I want to live. And so, like you said, work optional. So I will never, I don't think I'll ever be the kind of person who doesn't work, because there's so much work to do.
Right.
It may not be, you know, paycheck kind of work, but there's so much work to do in the community. And then also, wealth to me is having enough money to support the things that are important to me,
Yeah.
the projects and initiatives that will help other people. So, that's what I think wealth is. But, you guys who are watching, tell us what you think wealth is in the comments. Um, but anyway, so let's get back to our discussion. So what does this look like? These wraparound services, what are some of the other wraparound services that you're going to provide for the folks? And then tell us how people get plugged into or will get plugged into being a part, because I'm sure there'll be a big flood of people who want to be a part of this community, want one of these houses. And so I know you're going to have some kind of selection process.
Yes. So, other parts of the wraparound services, including the financial literacy aspect, I also will be providing professional and career development opportunities. Professional development meaning learning how to, interviewing skills. That is an art where, we have to know wherever we go as far as, trying to get to that next step with your career. Also, career development opportunities where um, learning how, especially for medical students, learning how to board study, like giving you mentors for the specific type of specialties you might want to go into. Having a group of mentors that will help you get to, where they are. Like, even I have a mentee on here, like, she plug Troy, Dr. Lake. I actually helped her, go from where she was, and she saw that I was at Hopkins, and she, wanted to get in pathology, and I pretty much helped her along the way, and she is now a year under me in the same pathology department. So it's, to me, it's all about bringing those that are behind you
Yes.
and not showing that it is possible. So that is part of the career development piece, and also having those that are already in residency, having them pretty much have mentors that are already in the field of medicine that are attending, showing, how they got to where they are, whether it's, interviewing skills or plugging with different, like, attorneys to look over, the first contract, having those types of connections. Networking is a huge piece of that for me because I'm a true believer that, networking can get you places that your grades and,
Yes.
other things like that don't can't get you. So those are the main other two things, including the professional development piece, um, that will also be incorporated. And how people can get involved in those is pretty much just email me at DevelopDoc Enterprises LLC at gmail.com, and just let me know you want to help out. We're open to, you know, people in all phases of their career, whether you are, let's just say, a resident wanting to help a medical student, or even an attending wanting to help those that, might be in medical school or in residency currently getting ready to get out of residency into their jobs. So, yeah, those are the things that we will also be providing, and the home ownership piece. So this is something I feel um, is important as well, because a lot of people don't even know that physicians are able to get what they call a physician's mortgage
Mhm.
loan. That is something that I literally just learned about maybe 6 months ago, and learning that, they, like, this is a tool that early physicians can utilize even with student loans.
Yes.
You can be able to purchase a home. So being able to provide these home ownership classes and workshops, and helping them prepare with the financial literacy piece, helping them prepare for future home ownership, because that's another thing I want to help, especially Black and brown people, acquire home ownership. And why not those that are in medicine? You can acquire a home while you're in residency. That
Right.
is absolutely obtainable, and that's the start of gaining wealth. Well, real estate is, I feel like, a true piece of gaining wealth. So all of those things encompass into building the, I feel like, the physician, and building the professional. So those are just a few things that, will be provided to people that are in Develop Doc.
So now, are you doing credit counseling services as well? Because one thing about those physician loans, at least I know back in the day,
Mhm.
they had a very strict credit score requirement. I don't know if they still have that now, but that was one thing that was a barrier for some people.
Yeah, so most definitely that'll be, again, part of the, like, financial literacy piece, like learning what all goes into, like, buying a home, not only having the credit, but knowing your credit utilization. What does that look like? So absolutely, that will be incorporated as well.
Okay, and then how are you selecting? Where are you where are you with the program? I guess that's what I should say
Yeah.
first. And then
So
what's your selection process going to be?
Yeah, so I am still in the building phase, so I'm still in the startup phase of DevelopDoc, but we are in the process of trying to acquire our first property to renovate. So we will have our first, try to have our first tenants by the time, new people come in around like the May, June um, area. So the real estate development piece, that's where I am at. As far as the like wraparound services, I'm still building my team with that. But when it comes to selection of who like our tenants will be, I am connecting with like the different medical schools and residency programs in the surrounding areas in Baltimore, and I'm connecting with them in order to see if I can get like if they can plug me with people that they know are first generation trainees or might be financially struggling with trying to find housing. So those are the ways that I am trying to get tenants as well as word of mouth. I'm very active on social media. I'm very active around, the medical schools in the area. So those are mainly the ways that I'm getting the word out about DevelopDoc. Um, but the selection process will mainly be kind of based upon like are you first generation? Of course, we wouldn't discriminate based off of age, sex, race, or anything like that. So it's mainly like what is your story and how can I help you type of situation, and just based off of that we can talk and connect and we'll get you in there.
Yeah, and while you were talking, I thought about another service that you're providing without necessarily realizing, and maybe, and you're pretty smart and savvy, so you probably already realized this. But I think you said at the beginning that you're targeting vacant properties in Baltimore.
Yes,
And I'm a native Baltimorean myself. And so I know, the number of vacant properties. And so you're helping to elevate the community
most
just
definitely.
by refurbishing those vacant properties, and it's bringing life and vitality to the surrounding community. So it's helping everybody. It's helping the community at large as well as the medical trainees.
Most definitely, yes.
So
So, a goal that we have is to decrease the blight around Baltimore. And not only are we targeting like vacant properties, but we're also targeting properties that, might need some, you know, not necessarily vacant, but distressed homes. So let's just say it's not a vacant property, but it just needs a facelift or, looks nice. Like we are also targeting those homes as well.
okay. So what's your vision? Because again, you strike me as a very savvy young lady. And so what's the 5-year plan for Develop Doc?
Great question. The 5-year plan for Develop Doc is to have pretty much we're starting with like single family homes, but eventually I want to have a multi unit property. So have like apartment named First Gen Commons. So I want to have that where I will still provide all of those wraparound services, but not only have it in Baltimore. I want to go to other medical hubs. So go to Atlanta, Georgia, where you have Morehouse. Go to Tennessee, where you have Meharry. Go like other medical hubs that has I know a lot of first generation medical training. So I definitely foresee in the next 5 years Develop Doc expanding not only in just this region but in other regions across the United States.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm here for it because I just, it can be the need is so great.
Yeah,
And, I'm just thankful and grateful for this generation that you have the vision, because this need is very great. And, I could see this going to the moon. So, I wish you all the best
thank you so
with
much.
this. And then I see a comment here from Angie Robinson.
Yes, my mama.
Uh-huh. So she's happy to see you flourishing and living your dream. Thanks for stopping by, Mom.
Yes, one of my biggest supporters.
Yeah, and so I usually we're just about out of time, but I want you to tell us again, and we'll put all of this in the comment section.
Okay.
Tell us again how we can get in touch with you if we're interested in partnering with you, either in a mentor capacity or financial support,
Mhm.
how can we get in touch with you to find out more?
For sure. So my email is DevelopDoc Enterprises, LLC at gmail.com. But also, as mentioned before, I'm very active on social media. So we have an Instagram at develop underscore doc. My personal Instagram is at two underscores doc rob. And on Facebook, you can just look me up, Mahalia Robinson. And also LinkedIn, same thing, Mahalia Robinson.
Great. So my last question for you is, if I am a medical trainee and I am struggling,
Mhm.
to find housing, or I'm struggling with food insecurity, or, any number of other things, what is the single best piece of advice you would give me?
If you were a medical trainee struggling with housing or a food insecurity, my number one advice is to ask for help.
Mm.
There's so many resources out here, especially within the like medical institutions, within the graduate medical education if you're a resident. Ask Asking for help is where to start. I'm a true believer that closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't ask, like you don't know. So
Right.
that's my main thing. Asking for whatever you need. The place you ask, if they don't know, I'm sure they know someone that might know.
Right.
So asking a question can open that door for you. So just ask whatever you need, and I'm sure there's going to be someone that will help.
Yes.
So that would be my advice.
Well, awesome. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed meeting you. I am so excited to see where you're going to go, because
Thank
I know you're going to wonderful, wonderful places, and I can't wait to see and to support and be a part of your journey. So thank you for coming on the show tonight.
thank you
You
for having
know, so people who are watching, please share this episode. Like this episode, share this episode with people that you know, because I'm sure many of us know people in this kind of situation, and maybe not even people who are medical trainees, but people who are new professionals. I think this translates to other fields as well. But people who are newer or first generation professionals trying to navigate their education while juggling all of the financial constraints. Because I think this is inspirational to a lot of folks. So definitely share this episode. And again, registration is still open for a weekend for me. I put a link in the comments for you to schedule your call. But schedule a call. I'd love to get on a call and talk with you so that we can figure out if a weekend for me is your next right step. Because, like I said, we're at a crucial time and we have got to get crystal clear on our path, and we have to rest. We have to rejuvenate so that we are fit for the fight. So that's it for tonight. I will see you guys next week. Thanks again, Dr. Mahalia.
no
And take care. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye bye.
bye.